All right, good afternoon, everybody. Dave Zvislin here, Nolte's CAD manager, and today's training that I'm going to be presenting is on parcel labeling. For those of you who are on the bridge line, which I'm assuming is everybody, if you could please mute your phones so we don't have any interference for everybody else listening in. And what I'd like to show today is a continuation of the Civil 3D parcels training that I did about a month ago, where we did all the different various options for creating parcels from AutoCAD objects and also using some of the parcel layout and editing tools. Today I'm going to focus purely on parcel labeling. And let me advance my PowerPoint here. And we're going to look at two main categories here. We're going to start off by taking a look at the area labels. And these are the labels that you're going to see in the center of the parcel that are going to have the lot number and then also the parcel area information, whether it's the acreage or in feet. And we'll show you just a couple of variations of that. And then the bulk of the presentation is probably going to be spent on line and curve labeling and the different concepts that Civil 3D introduces to allow us to build these dynamic labels and how to work with them. So hopefully after this training, everybody will be able to utilize some of these tools in a production environment. All right, the workflow we did in the last session was done in the PRMA C3 drawing, so I've kind of got that highlighted here, and I showed this same flow chart in that session, and we did all these different steps to where we can come in and create our parcels, edit our parcel segments, and then the final thing that we should have done in that webinar, and I'm not sure if I actually got to this, but you can also reach you to draw a polyline through a whole series of parcels and update their numbering. That was all done in the model drawing. Today's session, we're going to look at, see if I can get my PowerPoint to go here. There we go. Today's session, I'm going to focus on kind of the master file that we're typically used to seeing here at Nolte is the PRMA drawing. We're actually going to X-reference the model drawing into this drawing and show you how we can label parcels through an external reference, and we'll talk about some of the constraints with that and some of the things you have to watch out for. But what this allows us to do is to have this model drawing where we can do all of our editing, and then we have the master file that we're used to where we can do annotation specific to a set of constraints. We can actually potentially have multiple versions of this PRMA drawing where we can have different features or items annotated based on what that needs, and they would all be referencing back to that original model drawing. So we're going to kind of show you a little bit of both of these behaviors here. So we're going to look at that. We're going to create our drawing. Actually, I've already created it from a template. We'll briefly look at some of the settings and how I've set up some of the styles for parcel annotation, and then we'll look at labeling all the different line and curve segments in that drawing. And I've got it annotated here. The two steps we're going to see is I'm going to do span labels first, and we'll talk about what those are, and then I'll go in and I'll label the individual segments. All right, so looking at the area labels now, we're going to focus on that for a minute here. That's a label that's going to be in the center of the parcel so that we can attach to a parcel. The first one here is called an area selection label, and that one's added automatically when you create the parcel, and that's what you actually pick to select a parcel. So if you pick on a line, you're going to pick a segment, but if I pick on the label here, you'll actually grab the entire parcel. There's a second type that you can add to parcels, and they're just kind of more of a generic area labels. And both of these use the same styles, but what the area label allows me to do is I can put on additional labels or label components linked to this parcel. So maybe we want to have just the lot number as part of our selection label, and then on certain parcels, if I want to see area or parcel number or any other information, I can add additional labels as opposed to using a different label style, area selection label style that has all the information I want, or I add in additional area labels. We'll also see that when we use external references, I can then use this area label capability and actually add unique area label styles when I X-reference the model drawing. All right. We're also going to look at, in these styles, they have a thing there called a parcel name template, where we can start changing these. So instead of showing just the number 10, I can have it with the word lot number 10. I can have right away with ROW, and so on. We can create these different templates in the styles, and we'll take a look at that as we go through. And then one other thing we'll look at with our area labels is there is a command in the pull-downs called Edit Parcel Properties. And what's nice about this, parcel styles and the label styles, or the area label styles, and here's both of those different components that I mentioned over here. And then there's this button in all of these where I can say, well, update all of the selected parcels. So if I want to change what styles being used to label all my parcels, I can grab all the parcels into this command, change it in the in this line item here, click this button. It will ask me, do you want to update them all? I pick yes, and it will then update all of them. So a great command, so I don't have to go through and pick them one at a time to make those modifications. And we'll take a look at that command as well. And then the final thing we're going to look at today in terms of area labels is how they behave when we XREF our model into our master file. So that takes us to the demonstration portion here. So let me jump over to my Civil 3D, catch up here. So hopefully we're all seeing my drawing here. And this is the same site I was working on in the last presentation on parcels. We'd laid out a bunch of these lots here and did some subdividing and used the automatic subdivision routines to put these in with specific frontage distances, make sure they were either radial or at a fixed angle, as you see here. And what I'd like to do now is spend some time looking at the lot area labels. So right now you see I have just a real simple label. It is the number of the parcel. And I'm going to pick on that, so you can see when I grab that now, it should highlight, and you should hopefully see a dashed line all the way around where it's grabbing all of those segments for that parcel. So I am editing the parcel right now, so I'll go ahead and right-click, and here's my various parcel commands I can do. And I'm going to go into Parcel Properties. I can change what that selection label style looks like. So right now it's showing just the PR lot number only. So if I want to do maybe just the lot name, we'll pick OK to that, and we'll now see that that one changes and it's saying lot 11. All right, or I can come in and change the Parcel Properties again, and maybe I want to see the lot name and area, so I have a style set up to do that. We'll pick OK, and we'll see now I get the lot name and the area components, and that's all driven by the style. So let's take a look at the style for a sec here. And I'm going to go edit the area selection label style. And again, the area styles are the same whether they're selection labels or just the more general area label style here. Let me click on the edit button, and we'll bring that up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move it up. Log used for all styles in Civil 3D, so we're going to start here on the General tab. I'm using just my L100 style, so it's going to be a simplex. And I am in the Nolte standard styles. I am placing all of the lot area labels on the PRMALX layer. And the reason I point that out is when we XREF this drawing, if you want to use a different label style in the other drawing, what we can do is we can select them, apply an area label style, and then I can freeze this layer in the X reference, and it will then hide the labels from the XREF. All right. Orientation, we're going to rotate everything relative to the object, and really a parcel doesn't have an orientation, so I'm not seeing much difference here. They will rotate all relative to the view, even though I have it set as object here. And then I'm also going to have plan readability set to true, so when we deview twist within viewports, if the rotation angle goes beyond 110 degrees, the labels are going to rotate or flip, so they're going to be right read relative to the view. So I can have the same parcels showing in multiple viewports, or if we twist our views as we go down our roadway plan, the labels will always be plan readable. All right, so let's go on to the next one here. So here's our different components. So we've got a lot name component and just the data that it's putting in there, and I just want to show you what data is available for these. So we have the lot name in here, and we can put in other components. We have the description, the area. They've got some additional properties where you can put in XID number, parcel ID. You can also add your own custom properties to parcels, and that's a different class, but those would show up in here as well, that you can add into these labels. Text type, I'm using 0.1 inch. For that one. And then the other component is the area, and we'll just see, we'll pick in here, and we'll see that that's using the parcel area in square feet, and then there's a second one that's using the parcel area where we set the units to acres. So it's the same component, but we just applied a different unit and then a different, just typed in a different suffix for each one. Okay, so this one you see it's using square feet, and there are we can convert it to meters or kilometers or hectares or whatever you want to see, and it will display the appropriate value or do the math for you on that. So I'm going to cancel that. So that's the different components in this label. Drag state for these labels, it is putting in a leader. However, the selection label, we drag it around and move its location, it does not put a leader in. We just kind of change the label insertion, but when we do the more general area labels, that's when we will get a leader. So let me go ahead and I'm going to cancel out of here. I didn't change anything. So I'll just show that if I pick it and grip it, we'll see that moves around. I don't get a leader. I think if I drag it outside the parcel is when it's going to throw in a leader pointing back to the parcel that was being labeled. All right, and I'm just going to head and it should be reset. There it is. So we'll reset it, put it back in the middle. All right, I want to change all of them. Well, I don't want to have to go to each one, right-click, Parcel Properties. So a quick way to change them all, and I'm just going to zoom out so we can see the whole thing, is on the Parcel pull down. I'm going to come down to Edit Parcel, and the second command in this menu here is the Edit Parcel Properties, and it's doing it by site. So we can see on my command line now, it's working in the parcels site, and that's the, if we come over here and look, that's the site we made last month when I did this first session. We made a site called Parcels, and if we expand that, there's all my lots listed there, all my parcels. So what I can do now is either draw a polyline by picking points, and it will then grab any parcel that is intersected by that polyline, or I can actually use P for polyline and pick an AutoCAD polyline, or I can do all parcels in the drawing, or I can do it by site. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in A for all, and that grabbed all of them. And what I can do then in this editor, and it's showing me which one is highlighted right now. Through here, we will see it will go through, so I'm on the lot 3, so it's highlighting number 3 now. And I can work my way through all the parcels. And while I'm in this command, I can change the parcel style, and I can also change what area style or area label style is being used. So I'm going to say I want to change this one to lot name and area. All right, and I don't want to pick the see the style here. When I go on to the next one there, that one should update. So I should move that so that you see that updated that one. Okay, so as I change them. Or what I can do is once I get the one I like here, I'm going to click on this button and it will apply that to all of my parcels. So I'm going to say yes to that, and then you'll see now all of the labels now have the lot number and area information Take a look. So now I've updated all of them. So a real great command for modifying all of those. So again, that's under Edit Parcel Properties. All right, I'll go ahead and bring it up again. I'll do just A for all to grab them all. Other things you can change in here is we can add in some site labels here. So let me do this. Let me change them all to just the lot number. We'll do lot name only, and we'll apply that to all of them. So we'll change it back to lot name, and then what I can do is I can come down here and I can say, well, I want a style, and I have one that's lot area only, so we'll add that one in. Okay, and I'll go ahead and apply that to everybody. My styles aren't, oh, they are set up for that. I couldn't remember if I modified it. So what I've done then is this now, instead of being a single style with the lot number and the area, it's actually two. So the first one with the lot number is my area selection, and then this one is just an area label. And if I move this around, and I've got the leader turned off on this one, it allows me to move these independent of each other. So if you've got real congested parcel maps, this gives you an alternative way of labeling that I can pull some of this information around and move it to make my plan a little bit easier to read. And these will actually stay relative to this insertion point here. So you see if I move this one, my other one will maintain that same relative distance. Okay, so it just gives you some options. So instead of doing it as a single style, I can do it as two labels. So one is the parcel selection label style, and the other one's just a generic. If I click on the little circle here, it snaps it back to the insertion point, and I can't get it to deselect. I have to regen to get that to deselect or dehighlight for me there for some of the labeling tasks that you need. This area style here, let me just modify that real quick just to show you what I've done. We'll come into the editor here, and what I did is on the layout tab I put in an offset distance of 3/10 of an inch, so that's why that one is coming in below. Most of the standard label styles that you're going to get from the style library are the template drawings. This offset is set to 0, and what will happen then is all the labels are going to come in on top of each other. All right, well, let me back this up a little bit. I don't want to have all the labels, so I'm going to come back into my Edit Parcels command, and I'm going to say Modify All again. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to pick on the area label style, I'm going to delete it, and then I'm going to hit the Apply to All, answer yes, and those will all go away. All right, move it just a little bit further here into our process. I want to talk about using external references with our parcel model. So I'm going to switch over to my master drawing here. So I'm going to switch to this drawing now. So I'm in the PRMA drawing, which I'm then going to XREF into all my sheets. I want to set up this drawing to have specific label styles. So what I'm going to do is first let me attach my XREFs. I'm going to use the XR macro here. And I want the PRMA-C3 drawing that we are working in. All right, so there's my XREF. So I'm going to click on that and just show you it is an XREF, so it's all one object. And what I want to do here is I want to apply a unique label style for this drawing for my area labels. I'm going to jump back over to my main model drawing here, so let me switch to this one. All right, I'm going to come into this area here, and actually I probably need to save an update, but what I want to do, and then this is a trick that I saw here in order to select the parcels so I can apply labels, but you may want to have it be the minimal object possible. So they came up with a concept in that we're going to apply a label style that just puts a period in there. So I'm going to edit Parcel Properties, and I'm going to do all of them. And I'm going to change my selection style. I have the style here I can just call ... All right, and then we're going to apply that to all. Okay. In the style, I've actually got it down to where it's only 2 dots, but it's basically I want as minimal of an object as possible here because I need to be able to select it. So let me save that, and let me jump back over to our drawing that we're referencing, and let me update All right, and what that does now is hopefully those are small enough that when I come in and apply the labels I want in this drawing, those little dots aren't going to be in the way. All right, so to label here, we have to come in, we have to use parcel labeling. So we're going to come in and add parcel labels. And the styles, I'm going to pull that down just a little bit so we can see it. We want to use the area label style. I cannot do the replace area because that has to actually have the parcels in the drawing in order for me to replace them. I can't do that. So we're going to just do the area style here. And I'm going to label these with the lot name and area like we saw in the other one. All right, so we'll go ahead and pick that, and I'll click the Add button. And now in order to label into XREF, I have to be able to select them. That's why I needed those little dots. So if I pick on the little dots, you will see that it is giving me one found, and I've picked 3 so far, so you don't have to pick all of them. But I come in and window them, but I have to have something there in order to select. So I found 62 parcels or parcel area selection labels, and we'll go ahead and hit enter to that. And it'll come in and it'll put in now the labels that I want to see in this drawing. So we'll go ahead and close that down. So hopefully those little dots aren't in the way, but I can now take this label and I can move it around. And again, it's going to point back to the centroid, so I may want to edit this label style in this drawing and go to the dragged state tab and say, well, I don't want to see a leader when I drag it. And I can also say leave my format as composed. So we'll pick OK to that and OK. And that then allows me then to move these around, place them where I want. And they are still linked to the parcel here. So I'm going to come back to my source drawing here and zoom in on lot 11. And what I'll do is I'm going to edit the parcel properties for that one. And I'm going to change... where's my lot number here? There it is. It's under user defined. So I'm going to change that to like 11,011. All right, a whole bunch of ones. I will save my drawing. And now when we go back to the master file and I reload that XREF, what we'll see now is this label is still linked back to that model, so it does maintain the link. You have to watch, though, if I go into my XREF manager and I come in here and I detach my XREF, you are going to unload an XREF. So if I unload that XREF, we will see now, oh, come on, get that to minimize. There we go. All of those labels disappear. Okay. They're still in the drawing, it's just what they're referencing is not available. So if I come in here and reload and close that down, we'll see all of my area labels show up again. So they do stay in my drawing. But if I were to detach the XREF, it would then delete all of these labels. And we're going to say the same thing is true for our line and curve labels. All right, the last piece I'm going to do here is these dots may be a little confusing because is it lot 0.11111 or is it lot 111? I can just come in and find my XREF layer here, the PRMA, I think it's LX here, so I can come in and just turn that layer off. There we go. And then those little tags will go away. There's some options now. You know, if I don't want these right-away labels, I can come in here and erase those now. That's not fatal. They're not the parcels. These are just labels, area labels. All right. So that's kind of the first half looking at area labels. So let me jump back into the PowerPoint here. That's not PowerPoint. That's PowerPoint. All right. All right, now we're going to look at the line and curve labels for our parcels, and I probably won't have time to fully annotate this, but this is the same corner there, lot 9, 10, 11, and 12, and I've gone through and I've put in boundary labels around the outside of the site. I've got right-of-way labels through right-of-way, labeling the full segment distances, and then internally to each lot I've got bearings and then lengths of segments that correspond to the right-of-way and the boundary. Okay, so that's kind of what my goal is to show you how to achieve this. Concepts we're going to look at segment labels and span labels. And if you remember from the previous session when we were laying out parcels, one of the rules I had is for long segments like this where they are, I can't think of the word, where they're, I lost my word. Anyways, where they match up end to end and they have the exact same bearing, you want to draw it as a single segment. So don't come in here and draw it from lot corner to lot corner to lot corner to lot corner and make each of these an individual segment. I want to draw it from angle point all the way to the other end angle point, and that will then allow me to place what are called span labels, which will give me the total distance. For those of you coming from Land Desktop, one of the things you're going to see civil through to point. I have to have an object there, whether it's a parcel, an alignment, or using some of the general labels, we can label lines and curves, just AutoCAD entities, but I have to have an object there to label. I can't go point to point. So we're going to look at those. We're also going to look at modes of labeling, and one I use predominantly is called single segment, where I actually pick the individual segments I want to label, and then the other one is multiple segment, where you pick on the parcel area label, and it will then label all of the segments for that parcel. And that one gets a little messy because I want to do different things. You know, on these lot lines here, I want bearing and distance, but this lot line here, I just want a distance. So the multi-segment maybe works okay if I'm doing just a boundary survey and I want to show, you know, quickly label parcel map. I'm pretty much going to use the single segment method. All right, and we'll also see that we can do these through external referencing. All right. A couple other components we'll look at and we'll talk about is the style behavior. So we're going to see that we're orienting to the object, but we can also orient it to the view. And then we'll also look under, you know, again, the plan readability. What I'll do is once I get some of these annotations in here, I'll go make a couple of viewports, and then we'll rotate it into viewports. All right, so that's enough of the PowerPoint. So let's come back into our Civil 3D. And again, now I'm in my master file that is X-referencing our model drawing. So I'm not actually working in the model drawing. That one's this one here, so I'll even minimize that. Let me go over to settings real quick here, and we'll come down to our parcel settings, and let's look at label styles. So here is where all of our different area label styles that I was using to do the parcel areas. And then for segment labels, they've broken them up into line and curve. And I've actually created a parent-child grouping here in our standard styles. So we've got our boundary labels, lot labels, and right-of-way labels. The styles are all the same. The big difference here is if I go into the boundary labels and edit this, what we're going to see on the General tab is those are going on the PRMABNTX layer. And if I look at lot labels and edit that one, and it's going on the PRMALOTX, and then same thing, the RT styles are all going on the right-of-way layer. At the parent level here, besides the layer, we can also come in and force different text types into some of the styles as long as they're using the same components here. All right. Main thing we're controlling at the parent level is using. Okay. If I expand that now, we'll see here's all the different styles I've created. And what I've tried to do here is in the libraries and the templates is build all of the different styles that we've used in Land Desktop. So I've tried to recreate everything that we did. So we're going to have all the variations of bearing distance above or bearing above, distance below. Where they're both on the same side, I only did above. There are no bearing distance below commands, but there's an option with the labels that after you place them, you can flip them to the other side of the line. Okay. We'll also see I've got some options here for putting the crow's feet in. Crow's feet above works great for a single segment, But to do the span segments, I've had to break them up into separate left and right, so I can put one on the left end and one on the right end. And then here we have a line. They will label the full distance from this point here to this point down here. Whereas a segment label, which all the other ones are, will only label from endpoint, from intersecting endpoint to intersecting endpoint. All right. And I have similar things for right-of-way. And then same thing if we come down and look at the curve styles, we'll look at the lot line labels, and we have all the different data components. And hopefully there's enough, excuse me here, hopefully there's enough default styles in the style library that everything you want to label is already here. If not, hopefully these are close enough that you can easily take one of these, copy it, and then make your corresponding style. Give it, follow the same rules. And if you do come up with styles that you use all the time and you would like them added to the style library, send them to me or let me know what drawing they're in. I can exit the template drawing. So, help me take these and grow this library to include everything. My goal is I don't want every office inventing the same styles. We're going to lose money on Civil 3D if we do that. So if you do come up with some new styles that you think are important to add to our collection, definitely let me know about it. Get them to me. I will add them to the library, and hopefully other offices will then benefit from that as well. All right, in terms of annotation, let me scrunch this back down. I'm going to start on my boundary here. So I'm going to go to parcel pull down. We're going to use the labels. I very rarely use these two commands because you have to know what the style is. And we can go into our settings, into the command settings for parcels and set the default styles, but I don't know what those are. I almost always use the command dialog here. And this will actually work for most objects in Civil 3D. You can come in and I can label anything from here, but when I do it through parcels, it starts off with the parcel. I'm going to come in, I'm going to do single segments first, and we'll show you a couple multi-segment. And then I want to do span labels here. I want to label that right away. I want the full distance, so I'm going to do span bearing distance. I'm going to do the one with spaces, so it spreads it out a little bit. Arcs, I don't have any arcs, but just in case, I will do span radius delta length, so those are all in line, so I'll put that above, and then you just click the add button and you come in here and you pick what you want to label. So we'll throw that one. Oops, I got the wrong style already. I messed up. I want my boundary, so I want with spaces and that one there. So let me add, we'll throw one over here, and I don't know if I have some arcs, we'll throw one right there. All right, let me erase the one I got. All right, so this is a span label here, but you'll see since it's going above the line, it placed it above, and it's between these two parcel lines here, so it is going to show me the distance, the span distance between the two closest adjacent parcel lines. So what I want to do is I want to pick it, right-click, and I'm going to flip the label, and then as soon as I flip it to the bottom side of this line now, the shortest segment or span length it is coming across is the total length of that segment of 950.94 feet. So that's the actual distance from this point here to this point here. Okay, same thing. This one should already be the span distance because it's on the outside, but just to show again, if I flip this one to the inside, it's going to be 50, the total span. So the span label labels based on where it is relative to the line. And in order for me to do that, I had to draw that polyline or that parcel line from lot corner to lot corner. If I drew it from here to here, doesn't matter which side of the line it's on, it will always show me 50. All right, so that's the main reason we did that when we laid out our parcels. If I want crow's feet on here, this gets a little tricky here, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to change my style to, I'll try left side first, so we'll add that. And I'll pick right there, and let me pick that one. So I knew both of those. You're going to kind of have to turn your head and realize that side's left, and then I'll change it to the right side. and I'll come down and I'll pick on the right here, and while I'm here I'll do that one, and I'll pick the right there. Okay, so we got that crow's feet in. This one's on the wrong side, so I can pick it, right-click, flip the label, and then we'll go down to the other end here. Pick it, right-click, and then I'll just flip the label. All right. And you may decide, that takes me forever, I want a crow's feet below. Okay, my goal is, as you saw already, these list of styles are getting pretty long. So by knowing that I can always flip them, I'm only building them for one side. Okay, well, let me do a couple right-of-way labels in here. So we'll come in, and I'll come back down to right-of-way, and we'll do bearing span, bearing distance above, and then I'll use the same thing. I'll do stacked. There it is. I'll do stacked labels on the right-of-way. And then I'll come in, and we'll just work in this area here. So I'll pick right there. I'll pick on that curve. I'll pick on that line. We'll pick on that curve. And we'll just throw in a few. I got a curve return there. So you kind of have to know where your PCs and PTs are. And then it's just a matter, again, flipping them all to where I want them on the right-of-way side, and that way now my distances here are going to give me the full length. And this arc actually, if I could snap to an endpoint, we'll just throw a line, and we'll throw some endpoints. So see, there's my endpoint. So my line distance is a little short here, but I can always grip it and line it up to where I can get them between the PCs and PTs correctly. So once I got all of those labeled, I probably want to move this one down because it's labeling from that point there to that point there. But I can get all the right-of-way labels in, so I'll get those. And now when I want to do my parcels, I'll come in and I'll just do PRMALO and do span. I guess I don't have bearing above, distance below. We'll do that one, yeah, because I don't want them. My span labels all have to be on one side, or on the main side, so it makes sense for labeling. And we'll add that one, and I can come in and label this one here. So the full length is 120. Come in and do the full length on that one, the full length on that one, and again, just flip that to the other side so we can get the whole value, and just kind of drag them around to where I want them, and then maybe come in and change my style to where it's going to be bearing above, distance below, and then my curves, I don't have any arc segments internal to my lots, so then I can come in and just start labeling my lot lines like this, and we'll go ahead and just throw some of these in, and then I can work down as I go through my process here, and now I want just the length. So I want, come down here, distance above, and then my arcs, I'm going to do length above, and then add, and now I can come in and just pick on the individual segments that I'm labeling, and we'll go ahead and throw them on here. So you can see it is putting them on because it is above, and then I'll have to come in, and I can do multiple ones as well. I can come in and say, we'll pick all of these, right-click, flip them, and now they're all internal, so now you see I'm getting the segment length from endpoint to endpoint, and then on the outside, using those span distances, I got the full length. So we'll add a few more in here. So I can see there's my 50-foot all the way back. I'll throw some on this side. That's an arc. I think I got an arc and a little line segment right there. Yes, I did. Okay. Oh, I missed. There we go. All right, so hopefully you're seeing how fairly quickly these will let you place the labels. A couple things I'm finding is they are a little constrained in terms of if I've got a real tight area. I've got these segments here, and I can pull them off, and I can do the little leaders, but everything's going to be view relative to the view as I drag them off, and I've seen some maps where it gets so congested in an area. There are times where I may create a style that has a different rotation angle built into it, or there may be an instance where I explode the label and then I can move it just like an AutoCAD object. But you get to that point and you're no longer reactive or dynamic. So if you edit the model, I'm good. I got about 15 minutes left here. So let me switch back to our main model here. So we'll switch to, and what I'll do is I'll just come in and find some that I laid out radially. Did I not? I think I did this entire job from AutoCAD objects. So what I'm going to do is actually, let's tweak the rear lot line. I'm just going to move it and make sure I want to make sure I snap so I didn't destroy these parcels. So I changed the bearing of this line here. So let me save that change, and then let's go back to our master file. So what we're going to do is this line here and these two lot and this distance here. So it's 119.41. So it should. I'm not getting an XREF. Fine, be that way. I have to do it this way. So I'm going to move stuff up out of the way here. So hopefully we'll see these updates. So I'm going to say reload my XREF. There we go. And I will see all of these labels, even though they're labeling objects in an XREF, my area labels, my lot labels, and this lot label here, they all update with those changes. And again, we're kind of stressing that in Civil 3D. You want to maintain the integrity of that model. So if I can keep these as dynamic labels and just accept some of the limitations of the styles and the orientation, it's going to be probably in my best interest. All right. A couple other things that I didn't mention earlier, but the styles in Civil 3D are all tied to the annotation scale. So if I bump this up to a 40 scale, all the styles are going to resize, and you can see I've got problems here, which is kind of why I came into the concept of having one or two PRMA drawings. Maybe I have a PRMA 20 that I label it and set everything for 20 scale, and then a separate one where I do it at 40 scale, maybe what I want to see for my civil construction documents where I need to see just maybe frontage distances or frontage bearings. I can use a little bit larger style, as opposed to trying to build one drawing that accommodates both. I can break it up, but they still annotate the same XREF or same model. All right, well, let's look at the view orientation here. So let me make a couple of viewports here, and regen that down. It's going to set my text height based on the view scale. Actually, let's go to 20 here. And let me find the model. There it is. My viewport must be tiny. Let me do a page setup real quick here and throw something a little bit larger on here. I'm going to give it a device. There we go. Okay, so it is a fairly, oops, trying to regen all. There we go, now I can see it. And we'll set that to 20. Okay, I'm getting there, I apologize, I should have moved my viewport. Had my viewport set up. So what I'll do is then I'll just make a copy of that one. And what I'll do is I'll twist it, I'll go 90. Oops, I went 0. Let me try that again. Let's go 90 that way. I went 0. In the two viewports, and we saw in our styles they are relative to the objects. So our labels all rotated with the view. Okay, and so we'll see that they are all rotating with the view. This is not quite the 110 degrees here, so if we come in and we deview, twist this a little bit further, all, and twist, and if I come maybe around like that, and we'll see now, let me come back into here, and regen them all, we'll see now that this one flipped over, so it's now labeling, so this is plan readable. All right, same thing on the labels here. This 122 is facing to the right here, but because I rotated beyond that 110 degrees, the label styles, you can see now my parcel area labels are also flipped the other way based on that plan readable, so they are upside down. If you want your parcel area labels to always be orthogonal to the view, I need to modify the style here. So I'm going to edit the style, and I'm going to go in here to the General tab, and instead of being relative to the object, I'm going to set it relative to the view. And then we'll pick OK. And then it'll update. So now we'll see that in this viewport they're all relative to the view, and then in the other viewport they also will rotate relative to the view. And it does get a little confusing, especially when you start dragging labels like this one here. I got lucky and dragged it to a location that makes sense, but you know, if I pull it from here and I want to drag it, get back to. But then when I get to the other view, we see that that label has conflict with my my right-of-way label that was already out there. So you kind of have to watch with multiple views. If you rotate that, the same label may have some problems. And we see now also, because of that plan readability component, some of my right-of-way labels are flipping over to the other side of the line. I'm kind of stuck, because if I come into here and say flip label, it will look good here in this view, but now it's wrong in that view. Okay, so you kind of have to watch. So I may need to have another style that uses a different layer, and then I can start freezing layers in viewports. So hopefully that's not going to be too fatal of an issue for you to work with. You know, again, I'll flip it here, and I run into that problem. So just some behaviors you need to watch out for this show today. So hopefully everybody is getting a good understanding. We do have an open phone line, which is unique for these training sessions. It's not recording your question, but if anyone has a question they would like to ask it, feel free to do so. We've got about 5 minutes or so left here. So I will go ahead, and if you guys want to take your phone off mute and ask a question, we'll see if we can address those. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let me summarize the question for everybody else because the recording didn't pick it up. The question is, can Civil 3D do the same thing that we are currently doing with Map Check, that if we go in and put points on all the lot corners, can we generate a closure report or information that shows that the point number is within our tolerance level on the corner. For Civil 3D, that I'm going to say the answer is no. We still have, and I don't have it installed, but I do think we have a map check that you can import your Civil 3D parcel models into, and then do the same 3D in terms of training yet, because they've actually got some different procedures here. 09, it's okay. It's much better in 2010. The concept that they are introducing in Civil 3D is you do not do a map check on the parcel objects. You do a map check on the parcel labels, so you can actually do it off the label objects, and that's going to be, again, another training session. And if you need help with that, I can show you the process to do that at some point. So a little different concept here. In Civil 3D, I can come in, and there we go, and edit my. Oh, I got to be in the source drawing here, get to the model here. Let me switch over to the model drawing here. I can come in and on my parcels, look at Parcel Properties, and they do a quick inverse and map check analysis, but it should, it was created from closed objects. Your errors should be good out to X number of decimal places here. That it's working with. I can do that, but there are no tools right now in Civil 3D that will let me set points on the lot corners and then do an analysis indicating, hey, are these points at the exact endpoint coordinates of the lot? So I would still probably go back and use MapCat map check for that process. Not that I've seen, so we will probably still maintain 1 or 2 licenses of MapCAD for those, because I get that. I know El Centro office, one of their districts, wants to see the points in the map check report as well. Correct. Yeah, and that does have, it doesn't work on the Civil 3D model, but like Land Desktop, it has an option there. You can import parcels from Civil 3D into the map check parcel table. Yeah, no, I understand. And then again, there's a few agencies that we have to submit lot closure reports with the point numbers. Somewhere else, I've got a program I wrote for Mexico that does it, just generates a rough report with points relative to a polyline. They had real complex closed polyline boundaries, and we just wrote a little routine because we had to format it, but it just basically finds the points on the corners and says, what the error distance is between the actual polyline endpoint. All right, anybody else? Got about a minute? All right, I take it by the silence that the training was so outstanding that we're all experts now in parcel labeling. No. You won't know until you start using it and you get questions. Again, feel free, call me anytime, email, communicator, and I can help you guys work out some of the issues. It's an area we have not used that much yet at Nolte, so first few projects I think we're going to probably stumble on a couple other issues that I have not yet come across on my CAN data sets, which always work perfectly. So if that's it, okay, well, good. I appreciate joining me today. Hopefully you did pick something up, and I wish you the rest of the day be pleasant. Goodbye.